Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Quiet Noise IG Live series. Today is day 4. I'm so excited to be with you all for this series. Thank you for hanging in there with us in this series. Quiet Noise live series with Nikki Rochelle. I am your host, Illiona Okereke. This series is going to end next Tuesday when the Quiet Noise album drops. That's just to give you guys an opportunity to listen to Quiet Noise. It is going to be on all streaming platforms. You can pre-order now and get an instant download of Late on You. If you missed out on the past 3 discussions about the songs, please go on Nikki Rochelle Music IG page to hear about the songs. And tonight we are going to talk about the song Martha. Right now I'm going to invite our artist of the hour to come on in. Hey, Pastor Ahmed. Hey, Namdi. How you guys doing? Hello, Victor Brown. I invited you, Nikki, so you should be able to come on in. I think I'm gonna do what I did yesterday. I'm gonna cancel the invite. So don't request anymore. I'm gonna cancel the invite and then I'm gonna invite you again and see if that works. Okay. Oh, I think Nikki is out. Oh,
Ooh,
here we are.
y'all seeing all the things.
I can't see you yet again
You
tonight. I
can't
can't
see
see
me.
you.
Oh
No,
no.
but I can hear you.
I'm here. I promise I'm here. That is so strange. Yeah, I had to go out and come back in. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah, it's technology. You know these things has a mind of its own.
indeed.
Yeah. So I know, the past few nights I've kind of been, uh, being the one to interview and ask the questions, but we prepared it a little differently for tonight. And so I know that you have some questions about that you want to ask regarding this song. Did you want to invite our guest
Let's.
first? Okay,
Hey
hold
Corey.
on. Let me.
Hi Victor Brown. Namdi. What's going on? Namdi, you might want to stay close. Might want to stay close.
Ahmed, you should have received the invite. Just come on in. Yes, here we go. Look, I get to see Ahmed tonight.
Hey,
Hi brother. Yes,
Hey.
these green.
there we go.
Hey.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good, Nikki. Good night. Good night. How you guys doing?
Good, good. I'm glad
Good.
I'm able to see at
Side.
least one of you guys.
What's going on? Why can't you see Nikki? What's happening?
It's been
It's
happening like this nightly. We've struggled with somebody being an odd person out. We can see everybody once it's posted,
Okay.
but
right,
Okay. Well, I can see y'all both.
I
right.
can see both of
Yeah.
you
And
tonight as well.
Cool.
So I'm the only one that can't see everybody. That's all right. That's all right.
Can you do me a favor, Illiona, and
Hmm.
can you actually send an invite to Namdi? And Namdi, I'm gonna call him by his true
Getting
name.
Namdi in there.
I
If he doesn't answer,
can't
it's okay.
I
Oh, you can't.
can't because he logged off. When he comes back, I give him
Okay,
the
when he comes back. Okay. He's
hmm
being disobedient. He already knew he was about to get called out tonight. But yeah, hey bro, it's so good to have you on here.
Great,
Yes,
Nikki.
so I'm happy you're here. I'm always happy to have convo with you and break bread. So how did you feel about the
Oh,
song?
just jump right in. Jump right in.
I'm going to. I'm
That's
going to.
right. See, this is what it's like when Nikki's on interview duties. You know what I'm saying? Just get right in there. Oh man, the song was amazing. So, um, this topic, this character, the way it was conveyed, and I hit Nikki up and I asked her for the lyrics, right? Because I listened to the song, but I wanted to listen and read, right? Just read her thoughts. And yo, when I did that, it blessed me even more. It was super encouraging to read, like just how like gospel focused this song was in perspective of Mary being able to see Christ beyond like her efforts. And if I just be honest, as an older brother in the parable of the prodigal, like that's me. I saw a lot of myself in this song, right? I saw a lot of myself working, working, working. Um, I've been a Christian for a long time, right? I've been serving in church for a long time. And so sometimes I find myself being really, really preoccupied and sometimes so preoccupied that I might miss the point. Saw that in Mark. That was just great, man. It was great to see that and feel that full revelation, and then feel like the charge and the challenge that was given for Martin to look to see those who are hurt. Put your focus on the thing that's great. That was dope, man. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful song. I can't wait for other people to absorb it and take it in. Hopefully they can see it and see themselves if they need to. So, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that.
Thanks, bro. I mean, I feel the way you do, honestly. For real, because like this is a true story. He's not on here right now, but if he comes back on, you better know I'm going. So I remember there was an account when there was a time when Inamdi was singing background with Nikki Rochelle, and I had been kind of singing this song. I feel like into the ground, and I didn't feel like it had lost any weight, but I think I was just getting a little bit like, I needed to take a breath. And he was like, "We're not doing that tonight." He's like, "No, that has the gospel on it."
Yo,
That was the energy he was bringing, and I said, oh, "All right." Um, and it's true. It's true. Uh, yeah, I think that I'm grateful that I was able to write it and pen it. I'll be honest with you. I heard another song that was really dope, and I was like, man, I want to be able to do that one day. And this is my first kid, like out the pen that I've ever
hmm
felt that was worthy of like anything sharing, like, after some maturation and some like growth and things like that, and just kind of realizing, Mia, realizing where I desire to be in terms of like what I desire to say. And like I heard a song, um, people always say don't quote other songs and take the energy off of yours, but it's called Jesus and John, and it was very interesting, like the story writing by Gunger. And I never thought, I was like, I just said I want to do it one day, and literally that one day happened pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, it's been a journey with this song. It's the oldest standing song that I've had, and being able to finally release it so that others can hear it. Illiona is another agitator. Yes, because
Me?
my Facebook, for all those that don't know, my Facebook account was hacked a few months ago. So I don't have these receipts, but she definitely tagged me um, in a post several years ago. when you hear what you said, you will realize that it was you because you know your imprint is shady. Um, she
What?
said in so many words, she quoted a line from the song and then said, "One of these days, I'll be able to have this to play it in my, my
Here you
MP3s
go.
because
Get on
I
her, Illy.
can't I
Get on
can't
her.
push play on it."
There,
And that was like a
I
long
didn't
time
hear any
ago.
shade in that at all.
Okay,
That was just truth.
okay, yeah, but so I don't even know where to bounce from here because apparently Ahmed says that I come in guns blazing. Um, Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I beat around the whole bush. So I'm trying to be better, and then I guess I went to the far extreme. But
No, you
there's a
were
few
good.
things. There's a few quotes that like I came across while I was looking for something else today, and I kind of want to hear anybody's thoughts on it. This one says it's a little brace yourself. It says every Christian should be conservative and radical, conservative in preserving the faith, and radical in applying it. That is by John
Mm.
R.W. Stott.
Whew. I'm gonna let the pastor go
Okay,
first.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
I was
I was
like,
waiting.
any takers? I'm
Yeah,
like,
no. I would try to shut up and listen for a second because I talk so much. But yeah, no, that's a great quote, man. I think the challenge for us is to find out how to walk that line, right? Like, where should we be conservative, right? What does that even mean for someone? Like, we don't really even know how to dig into that, especially if a lot of us come from places where, conservative is almost a cuss word, right? Like, I ain't trying to be conservative about nothing. I'm trying to go crazy. I want to be, as extreme as I can, right? But I do think that there's something about preserving, like, the beauty of the original text, the beauty of what was intended for us to glean from it, right? And knowing that it was good for them then and it's good for us now, right? Like, let me hold on to these sacred truths because they are timeless. Like, we're always thinking about the next thing. Everybody want to be so deep. You swimming in the kiddie pool, you just get wet. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody gotta be jumping trying to drown in 2 feet, right? But it's not always about trying to find the new deep thing. I think like the beauty of the Christian life is applying the things that we know, right? Taking hold of what's presented to us that's understandable, that's relatable, that's real, and then going as far as we can with that, right? Let's be a master of love our neighbor, right? Let's be a master of honor the Lord. Like, what does that stuff mean for us in real life? Like, without all of the extreme depth, without being able to walk in and people say, "Oh, this is atmosphere shift," whatever little phrases people want to use, right? But in that same vein, sometimes people can be so serious about holding on to those deep truths that they just get caught in a bubble and they just home reading books all the time, right? They just enjoying these precious thoughts and it's not leading them to like sacred walk. Like, let's walk, let's get outside, let's do the things. So I think that the call and what we see in Jesus' life is somebody who was so serious about the word because it's him, right? Like, he was so serious about what was true that it led him to do. And I think that for us Christians,
Mm.
man, we can hold on to that. Like, if we can really grasp that, lives change. Start with our own, right? Like, we do things differently. We don't have to be worried about fitting in anybody else's bubble. We don't have to be worried about whether or not we're getting invitations to come to this event, this gig, whatever. No, we just want to be faithful and honest and integrous because I think that that's how the world changes. I think that's first how we change, how our families change, how our communities change, how our cities change. Then ultimately, honestly, how the world changed. Like, Jesus took a few uneducated folk and he changed everything by educating them and then educating them intellectually and then educating them empathically and emotionally, right? Spiritually, allowing them to see the fruit of his hands, to see the work being done, and then to breathe into them the same kind of posture and the same kind of excitement to go and to turn the world upside down and know that they have the power to do that because of him, not because of themselves. Long answer, but yeah, that's what my thought
no,
is.
no, long and still loaded.
Yeah.
Good stuff for sure.
Well, I mean, as a mental health professional, I mean, even when I'm reading the Bible, it's just hard to not see mental health there. When I'm listening to the song, it's hard to not see the mental health, the psychology in it. And so, income, putting together Martha with this quote, preserving the faith, and being radical in our application. And so when I hear the song, I see Martha. I see Martha doing all the things. And when I see Martha doing all the things in her busyness, I see someone who has their worth wrapped up into all the things that they do. And so who I am is tied to the hats that I wear, the roles that I play. And so I gotta be the busy wife or husband, the busy the over involved parent, the, always at the church pastor, always the, minister that always has a word ready, that, is always ministering, doing all of these things that we feel like makes us feel better sometimes, but that is not the radical application of, the word. That is not us preserving the faith, because if we were, then in that moment, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. In that moment, uh, um, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, means not just that I can do all of this busy work, but I can rest, through Christ who strengthens me, right? And so some of us, especially people of color, we go through trauma, we go through our upbringing, and kind of like what we were talking about yesterday. And so, like, my upbringing is tied to this, these things that I do. This is what should prove, that I am somebody. This is what I need to do to be loved, which is not true. That's not true. But we do all of these things because we think that that is going to bring us to an end, that maybe God would love me more somehow, maybe man would love me more somehow. Um, but when we look at Martha versus Mary, Mary is like, oh, Jesus is here. I am laying at his feet. We just gonna vibe out with Jesus. What you doing? We sitting down? We talking? Okay. We just gonna vibe out. We gonna eat when we eat, but I need to eat of this word. I need to soak this up. And so, if anything, Mary was more radical in that, knowing like, okay, that God loves me just the way that I am, and I'm just going to soak in this right here, right now. Whereas Martha is like busy, 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 and it's like, Jesus, you're not going to tell her to help me? Like, come on, I'm doing all these things, and it's like Jesus is like, but she understands. She understands this thing that I am here now, and this is us spending time together, and so radical application may look like rest. Radical application may look like sitting at the feet of Jesus and not having to do this, that, and the third. Because when God has it all under control, if He's telling me to rest, if He's telling me I'm good enough, if He's telling, then it doesn't matter what you think about that. It doesn't matter what, the childhood me is saying or what the naysayers are saying. I'm going to be obedient to that, what I know. And God got it. Like, it's everything else is going to be taken care of. And so when I hear this, that's all that comes through my mind when I'm, listening to Martha, but also hearing that, quote that you shared with us.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like the term radical is it's kind of hijacked to mean a very specific thing to very specific people, right? Like there's no real like universally accepted idea of radicalism, but like what you said is true. Like Mary was radical because she went against what was societally normal, right? Like
Socially
hospitality was
acceptable,
important.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Hospitality is important, right? So she was doing the good work. If you invite somebody to your
Yeah.
house, you better be up cleaning and getting things situated for them. But what Jesus said is like, I think about Ecclesiastes 3, right? Like there's a time to and there's a time to, right? And so I
Hmm.
think that like Jesus is so magnetic, right? That like when he's around, the time to is him, right? It's like whatever he's doing, like we lean in,
Yes.
we draw in. Like let the dishes pile up in the sink because Jesus is here, right?
Yeah.
Like if the roast get burnt a little bit, it's cool. Jesus here. He'll, you know what I'm saying? He'll fix that a little. You know what I mean? Throw a little dash seasoning on it, something like that. You know, Jesus will put some on. Nikki, listen, you culinary. Jesus will whip up an au jus. You know what I'm saying? He'll get that thing right.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Come on,
the
Juice.
point the point is just radical looks like not trying our best to follow the rituals, right? And that's what you talked about towards the end, or I think that was the second verse we talked about. Martha wanted to like look for the list of the Ten Commandments, right? Like she had her mind focused on the thing that we knew. Like this is it. This is what I'm doing, right? I'm doing these tidbits. But Jesus, like, man, I am that. Like this is me.
Hmm.
She's found the better thing. And so for all of us, what you're doing, Nikki, is so crucial. It's so important because you're walking in your lane, right? You're helping others to be encouraged as they walk in their lane. And I think all of us can learn from that, man. All of us should be learning from that. So yeah. What's your thought on that? Love it.
My thought on this quote. Oh man. Honestly, I don't know if you're ready. Um, I feel like my take on this is because as the two of you were talking, I'm just kind of processing, and I was just like, what does all of this look like practically? Because people can hear these songs, and depending on where you are, you can still feel like it's almost too lofty,
Yep.
right, to apply. We
Mm-hmm.
look at the Word of God, it's a whole lot of books, right? And then there's a whole lot to consider in each chapter, in each section. You know what I mean? You go to the Psalms and you hear about songs and, all these ways to lament. Like there's just so many things to consider. And it's just like, where do I start? You go in a library, where do I start? And I feel like as I'm listening, but even as I've done my own like account of not just the song, but just like where do I want, how do I want to live? And I don't even know who the writer of the song is, but somebody wrote a song that says "Live like you're dying," because I think about the simplicity of where you find yourself at the end of your days. If we're blessed to not leave quickly, right, and we find ourselves and we realize that our body is decaying, and you have time to call your loved ones, or you know what I'm saying, you have time to get certain things in order. What matters most? What do we start applying our energy to? And honestly, I feel like it becomes way more simple. Our list becomes way more simple. And I really feel like if we could learn to apply simplicity every day, right?
Hmm.
It's like me being with my daughter and me trying to get a million things done, like the both of you were referring to at different times. And if I miss moments with her, I've missed it, right? All of us have been children to our parents, and we probably have felt those moments at times where it's like, man, I wish that I had had X, Y, and Z. And so you just think about that in the reverse, like, how can I live now um, as if every moment is precious?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think about when you were talking, I don't, I'm gonna just call you bro, because I know you have many titles to many people, and I know none of that really matters over here. But when you were referring to the life of Jesus, and I was thinking, I'm like, yo, dude had 3 years in ministry. and turn the entire universe upside down. Meanwhile, many of us will go for 30 years in ministry and wonder why the numbers have dwindled, which doesn't matter, right? But the potency of the message, like that would stay the same. You know what I'm saying? That would be held true. And so it's just like, how do we do that? And I really do think it's about keeping, Pastor Carolyn says it often, keeping the main thing. Overseer says it as well, like, not minoring in major things and not majoring in minor things. And I think sometimes we just have to keep evaluating, right? Like, all right, I have a laundry list of a million things to do today, but what really, 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 and I think sometimes when we think the thing that's lesser than, by our standards, it's really something that's really major and life altering for someone else, right? I'm a mommy, so like I identify with, I think, some of the mundane that some people talk about who are moms. And there's a woman who, she's a believer, but just her refreshing outlook sometimes is just like, man, thank you. Because sometimes, she was just like, checklists of like 3 things that were, an irritant or felt overwhelming for her that day were the same 3 things that brought her joy. And one of them was like a load of laundry, right? And the child who, is having a hard time regulating. But in that same space, you can remember that they still need you and that they still, you know what I'm saying? Like the little things that sometimes we miss because we're trying to climb over it to something more grand. And I think the same thing happens in our walk with the Lord. Like we can miss a moment in several moments, and then moments turn into days and weeks, and then we're like, how did I get here? And so it's just practicing his presence like more than anything, and realizing that is really like all he wants. That's all he wants, and that's all we need.
Yeah, that's dope. Nikki, you got more questions? Because I wanted to ask you a question, if that's allowed.
Ask away. No. This is what. Do you see what I said, Illy? I already told you, Illy. Yes. Come with it. Right, I was ready.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking about the song, and I'm thinking about all the content matter. And so, like, I just wanted to hear from you, for the person who might tap in to this live, right? Person who has heard about your ministry, or maybe have experienced it, and the person who's excited, or maybe somebody shares this, and someone who you don't know at all, and who just met you for the first time, and you're going to sing this song at the end of this, right? And they're listening, and they're like, wow. Like, do you have in your mind a message for the person who you desire to be most impacted by this song? Like, is there a few sentences that you would want to be able to communicate to the listener, to help them to grab what it is that you want to lay out for them? Like, what's your message of hope? What's your message of encouragement? What's that direct thing that you want to communicate?
I'm gonna quote myself, and from this song, in particular, to really say like that God is a king, and that we're all his kids, and that in him we can all abundantly live. He's the king, and we belong to him. Like nobody is left out, and that in him he literally wants us to have the best that there is. And it's being with him, and it's first knowing our identity in him. I was just talking to my sister today. There's so much wrapped up in the like not having a father present, and my father has been in my life, but he hasn't had words for much of, you know what I'm saying, towards me for a lot of it. And even though he's been physically there, him not speaking, you know what I'm saying, in very pivotal moments, or maybe not speaking well, right, has done some work here. And so I think that what we all crave is to know our Father, and to be known by him, and to be seen by him, and to trust that he is everything that he says he is. And so I feel like that's a big thing, to be able to know that God is not just king, but that we're his, right? That he's not just Lord, but he's lover of our soul.
That's right.
And that he wants us to know abundant living, which is only known and found in him.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. That's so dope. I hope that somebody does grab that, Nick. I hope that somebody listens to this and they listen to your song and they see that there is a daddy, right? Because all of us are born from one male seed, right? It's not a bunch of daddies out there. It's one. It's one true and living God who loves them, who is their daddy, right? Who cares for them and who wants them to be known by him, right?
Yeah.
That the God of the Bible, Jehovah, whose son is Jesus, right? The only way to be able to know true peace, true security, true hopefulness. None of the counterfeits, none of that fake love. We're talking about a real and lasting love that will carry them from now throughout all of eternity. So, yeah, very dope.
You know, it's interesting towards like, you know, the bridge of the song towards the end of the song where you're telling, saying, tell them of his mercy, tell them of his love,
So dope.
you
So
know.
dope.
Yes, when you go into that, tell
Yeah,
them
that
of
was
his
like
kindness,
a
tell them
preaching moment.
he forgives. Yes, yes. And so, even what you just said, it made me think about not just Martha, but the woman at the well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like
Mm-hmm.
God, Jesus is having a conversation with her, and like Jesus is really like ripping her a new one. I mean, you know, in a loving way, right?
In a
You know,
loving
He
way.
told her the truth
like,
about herself.
yeah,
So he told her the truth about
yes,
herself.
yes, really, and it's like, ooh, that
Okay.
girl,
Get out my
Okay.
she
black
said
book,
what he
Jesus.
said
Get
about
out my black book.
you.
What else you gonna tell me
Right,
about myself?
exactly.
Huh? Hmm.
Yes, but because in that moment she experienced the love of the Father, like you're saying. In that moment she experienced kindness. She experienced all that she left the well saying like, come, come, I want to tell you about a man that told me all of these
Yo,
things.
Told
And
me
so
about
like
myself
what,
and
that's it.
yes,
was
That's it.
and
still sitting there
right.
with me.
Right, exactly. And so when you take off that Martha hat and you can become more like Mary or even become more like the woman at the well who gets that opportunity to have that intimate moment with God and experience Him in a different way, in a way that is needed, you become a better evangelist because
Mm.
now I'm not just like I've experienced it, but I'm telling you this testimony that I've experienced for myself. I'm not just recommending a book I've never read. I'm not recommending a restaurant I've never eaten at. I've been to this restaurant, I've read this book, and girl, let me tell you, boy, I'm telling you of this because we know that we are more likely. Like I've posted stuff on Facebook before, or other people have too, asking for recommendations. People are like, just Google it. I know I can Google it.
I
I
don't
want
want
to
the
know where
Google.
you right. I want to know where you have been, and so it's so much different when you have personally experienced it and you are making this recommendation. And so
Yeah.
when we had so that's why it's so vital to have that moment to meet him as Abba Father, like you're saying, Nikki, because then we are a better witness
Hmm.
to people.
To that point, when I go to restaurants, I will ask my server, what, what do you recommend?
Same.
Because let
Yes.
me tell
Same.
you
Same.
something. If
Same.
it's anything that's faulty about it, I'm calling
Hmm.
you back to the table and I'm
Right.
take this back. This is not what you told me it was going to be. You understand? But in
Hmm.
Christ, but in Christ, you
But
ain't
in
got to give
Christ.
nothing back.
That's it.
I
That's
Yes.
it. We taking him at his word.
Yes.
don't need it back.
Yeah.
I don't need it
And that's
back.
why his word says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Not be like taste and see if it's good. No,
Yeah.
taste and see that the
That
Lord is good. That means it is good. I
promised,
promise.
guaranteed.
100%. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Exclamation point.
Bullseye. Bullseye. Bullseye.
Yeah. Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to ask a question. Um, I want to ask a question to both of you. What was that like for you? I mean, when you tasted and saw for yourself, what was that like? Not based on recommendations.
And so, mental health, I'm still talking about mental health, right? So there's something I like to do actually with my students. We do like mindful eating. And so you have to have so usually I bring chocolate and mint because uh the script that you read, it talks about a chocolate, but not everybody can do the milk or whatever. So you have to take the chocolate, but first you have to have the wrapper in your hand and just feel the wrapper. Then after you feel the wrapper, then you have to feel the wrapper. How does the wrapper feel? What is the weight of it on your hand? Now you can slowly open up the wrapper. What is the sound that the wrapper is making? Then you look at the chocolate. And what does it look like? What does it smell like? Then you can lick the chocolate, just the taste of the chocolate. You don't bite into it yet. All right, and then it progressively you get more into it, and you have it in your mouth. What does it what sensation do you feel? Where do you feel the taste? Fight that urge to just swallow. Really just ingest it. And so I feel like God has been like that for me. Whereas like I've taken the chocolate and I just ate it. And so like when you just take the chocolate and you eat it, like what's the weight of the chocolate? I don't know what the weight of the chocolate is. Like, can I just eat this chocolate? That's what it feels like. We're just doing so much with this mindful eating. And so I feel like when people ask me, like, when I first got saved, it's like I can't even tell you. I've been in church all my life. I can't tell you when I first got saved. I don't know that. But I like your question. When did I taste and to see that the Lord is good? Like I've been eating these chocolate, but more recently it's been like more mindful eating. And
Mm,
so I've been experiencing him in that way. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know that the word says your grace is sufficient, but I have felt his grace being sufficient. And every day I feel like it's still a journey. Like
mm-hmm,
I'm still like in that mindful eating process now.
mm-hmm.
Because I've
That's so
had the chocolate
good.
all my life. But in the mindful eating, you explore more and you start to get to the weight and the texture and you become more mindful of it. And so it's still a discovery for me. But it was good when I just took it and ate it. But savoring it even more is like, this is different feeling now.
I supposed to hide. Hey, Zozo.
Can you see her on the screen? I can't see. I can only hear.
Are you done?
I'm not done yet, baby. She's playing hide and go seek with her daddy.
Aw.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, I like that analogy that you gave, Ellie. It makes me think about like a seven-layered candy or something, or some type of meal that matures with you, right? Like,
Yeah.
it could be the same thing, right? But every time you eat it, it hit a little different. Like
Yes.
that, like the Werther's original that the mothers of the church might have, those caramel candies,
Hey.
right? You know, they one thing when you're young, but when you're older, you might get a little more appreciation if you're the toffee kind of person. Um,
Yeah.
so
It
I'll
hits
say for me,
different.
man, I haven't been in church all my life, but I have been in church most of my life. But um, I do remember my moment. Um, the way I grew up was very rough. Like we had a very I have a very tough family, very rough family. So, we grew up fighting a lot. We grew up in the hood of the hoods, right? Like, and just that experience of seeing like crazy poverty that way, seeing people like really struggle, not seeing hope really at all. Never really, like I remember on my street growing up, there was literally only one friend whose dad lived in his house, right? And that was like vivid for me. All the rest of us, we all played together, but there was only one dad in the house. One. And we all looked at him like he was kind of weird since his dad was there, right? That's how crazy life is. And so I remember like coming into the church, I saw things being done differently. I saw life lived different, right? And then I began to hear these things that made me question like what I saw as normality. And I was only 12. I was only 12 years old. And I heard this preacher preaching, and I'm like, he's shaking up like my life right now. Like the things that he's saying is troubling my heart. Like if he's right about what he's saying, I need help, and I don't have it within myself. And that's difficult for me, right? Because I'm the, grow up like a typical boy in the hood, right? Don't cry, boys don't cry. You don't have need. I mean, you go out and you make it happen for yourself. But I had to come to grips with like this problem that he's exposing in me. I don't have an answer for. And even at 12, I remember being broken enough to say like I surrender, right? And so I remember dedicating my life or surrendering to the Lord, and not that there was this overwhelming epiphany in that moment, right? But for sure, I was convinced that I was a sinner and I had need that was outside of myself, and I saw Jesus as the remedy for that, and I ran to him like, "Please take me, please, I want you, please take me." But I remember being like about 20, and reading scripture for myself, and I came across a passage that really just broke me. I was in Revelation and just talking about like the final judgment and stuff like that. And I was like, man, like I've been in church for a while, but I wonder if I've actually taken this serious. Like I wonder if I fully have embraced the reality of who Christ is and the seriousness of his sacrifice, right? Like there's a seriousness about it. And so I remember just crying. Actually, it was me and another friend. We 20 years old, dudes from the hood, like I said. And we're in an apartment crying. Both of us just snotting and weeping. And that was a major moment for me. That's when I knew without a shadow of a doubt that he is who he says he is. He had confirmed some things for me in different ways, and I was like, yeah, this is it. And so that's why I am who I am, Nikki. That's why I don't really have a desire to play around. Like I ain't trying to be all spooky spiritual and
Right.
extra, you know what I'm saying? But I I do want to be serious. I want to live a life of integrity. I want to be faithful. I want to be honest. I want to be kind. I want to be generous, charitable, all those things. And so, yeah, I've tasted and I've seen for sure.
Yeah.
And as Illiona put, like I'm still tasting and I'm still seeing, and that is what's
So
super
good.
encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I know that I'm kind of on the interviewer side, but I will also say, yeah, I mean, for me, my experience has been growing up in church, but obviously, not obviously, well, yeah, I mean, recognizing, I had this back and forth. I had this back and forth because as I've already shared, and I try to be transparent about, and it's very interesting. Thank God for the language that certain people have provided that helped me to realize that I'm not trying to rag on folk. Like I love my dad, and I honor my father, and I'm honest about my experience with my father. So with that said, I grew up really kind of in this really like I would go back and forth with this in a quiet love for my dad, and then a really quiet frustration, sometimes not so quiet resentment, and that would spill out into whatever I wanted with God because I grew up with the hymns and all the things, right? And so I have a love for those things. And I had a love for wanting to know what God's presence could be for me. But very unnerved because I've been hurt by one of these men folk. And if you anything like him, I don't know if, you know what I mean? So it would just be this back and forth. And what I've experienced with God has been the taste of over time experience of him saying, as much as you have been raggedy towards me because you think I'm like these jokers out here in these streets, what I'm trying to say is that I'm still here and I love you, right? And let me pour on you. Let me lavish on you. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Like, how about you try surrendering a little bit? And you ain't got to give me much. Give me a fingernail and I'll give you my hand. Give me a fingertip and I'll give you my arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's been that kind of exchange where it's been like I've pushed God away at times because I convinced myself that whatever I was experiencing and through the, you know, the emotions that you would feel through certain lenses had anything to do with him, right? And his uh, being unjust or his not having empathy, right? And it's just like, yo, like all of this is still working out. Just trust me. And so, yeah, my experience with him was getting tired of fighting and like being tired of like having this situationship with God and really wanted to be all in. Like, and so I was at Trenton High. My sister was in the Bible club. That was a thing back in the day. And
more saved than me.
Listen, I remember my first year, I was still doing a lot of foolishness, a lot. And she went, it was the last night of their like end of the school year revival or something to that degree. And she invited me to come. I was like, child, I don't feel like coming over there with y'all. But I was like, whatever. Like, you know, we were so close that I showed up for her sake. And I stayed around. And baby, the Lord got a hold of me. And I was just like, all right, God, like I really want to do this. And I don't want to be on the outskirts of what could be. Listen, that Lloyd, I feel like I'm gonna mess up his last name. Say it, please, so I don't. Robotham. Yes, because I was about to say Rehoboth. And last week, this man said, and it's still searing a good little char in my soul. He said the only thing worse than waiting on God is wishing that you had. And baby, when I tell you that that's kind of where I was just like, I don't want to wish that I had experienced what a father could be, like real father, like in doubt. And I'm still learning how to be a daughter. I'm still learning. But yeah, it's the continual journey of tasting and seeing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about you, man, but I want to taste and see what.
Let's get to it.
Nikki singing this Martha song.
I already know. Oh man. There's so many parts of the song. I don't know where to begin.
So you know, if you start with that gospel part, that preacher charges it, and I'm running.
Man, Martha was so careful, too careful not to sin. So she advertised the list of the 10 Commandments. Martha was so careful, never wanting to offend. So she chose the silence as she sat quiet on the bench. Meanwhile, the testimony, it held no weight because she decided that she would never ever say while people they are hurting, broken and lost. The circumstances say, oh, hope is gone. If you would only speak, I guarantee someone's bound to listen. So please don't you keep them hidden. for every one of us. Tell them of his mercy, and tell them of his grace, and tell them that one day we can all see his face. Tell them of his mercy, tell them of his love, and tell them there's a fountain, fountain filled with blood. Tell anyone, everyone, someone that he's come, that you may have life and in more abundance. Tell anyone, everyone, someone that he's come, that you may have life and in more abundance. Martha.
Woo! Well, guys, if you want to hear more of that, copy your album, Quiet Noise. Copy of it. Next Tuesday, Quiet Noise drops on all streaming platforms, November 14th.
I feel like I need my
Quiet
tambourine.
Noise.
Yeah, isn't there a pre-order option?
There is.
So you can,
Incentive?
go ahead, Nikki.
So if you pre-order between now and next Tuesday, you will already have access to one of the singles or one of the songs on the album called Lay On You. I promise you it'll bless your life. My daddy just downloaded it today. I was on the phone while he did it. He's like, how do we do this? But yes, you do get it automatically. It is available to you. And then once the album comes out, everything just populates. So
Awesome. That's on iTunes.
yeah.
So what's happening
iTunes.
November 18th?
Oh, forgive me. So it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon, it's on all the platforms. Anywhere that you get music from, go find it. It'll be there.
CD Baby.
CD Baby.
Oh, wow.
If you try to go on Spotify, because they are a streaming platform, you will not be able to pre-order, but you can access it via any of the other platforms. And on the 18th, if you want to have a moment where you're able to experience it in a different way outside of your MP3s, please come and meet us. We'll be at NLW. I'm giving the acronym, New and Living Way Ministries. That is on at 501 B Spruce Street in Trenton, New Jersey. If you're in Delaware, come through. If you're in the tri-state area, this is for you, and I really do believe that it's going to be a night to remember. I believe that. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What can we expect? What's happening that night?
Fire.
Yes.
Freedom. And let me say this also. Okay, so go on my profile. You can access and register there. But also there's a fire started this. I don't even know. I don't know if this was the best strategic move, because it's not even like this is gasoline that we're putting in the building. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know. April Brown is going to be in the building. She's setting the stage. Mighty God bless you, sis. Yes, and it's just going to be like, it's going to be a night. Like I promise you, I can't make any promises, but what I can promise you is that I believe that transformation is coming on the other side of like you being a hearer, not just of songs, but word imprinted in song. And so, yeah. And Holy Ghost, listen here. We praying, we've already been praying. So I believe that, like, where two or three are gathered, like, he's going to be there. He's already with us here, right? Because he lives in us. So it's just going to be a whole bunch of fires being set. And I make no promises for, thank God for insurance.
So listen, do I need to bring a
bless
fire
y'all.
truck, or do we have somebody parked outside?
Oh, sorry, we have a resident firefighter in our midst. Can you just please, can you have your crew on speed dial, because it might be necessary.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Looking
But it's
forward.
gonna be, It's gonna be fun. Please come. Don't come being like y'all see me in my Puma tonight. Be relaxed and be comfortable. Do you? Do you in terms of your attire? But I would admonish you to be as comfortable as possible. Somebody threatened to roll on the floor yesterday when I saw them. I'm like, that's between you and your God. But whatever happens, there's freedom in the house. There's fire. There's freedom. The Father will be there. And I believe that's all that we can really expect.
You might need to bring
Order,
your own sheets. Just
BYOS.
cover your own self.
Because
holiness,
we're going to run
just
out
feel right.
possibly.
Huh?
Yes. So the
Limited
link
seats and limited sheets. Ooh.
for those who are watching on the live, the link to register for the live exchange with Nikki Rochelle is right here. It's pinned in the comment section. For those who are listening on the replay, you can check Nikki Rochelle's bio for the link, but it's quietnoise.eventbrite.com. The tickets are free, but we just want you to register so we can prepare for you all. Thank you guys so much. Thank you,
Thank
Pastor
y'all.
Meg. Yes,
Bro, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank you,
It's been
Illy,
fun,
after your long
always.
days, both of you. Yes.
Love you,
no problem. We love you.
for sure.
I love y'all back.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Nighty night.